Yo, I didn't think I would be able to do it this fast, but I finally got through all the shows for my Nickelodeon project coming up later. So sorry to randomly pop up in your inbox, but this is just an update video to show you guys like what I've been doing. I'm sorry for not uploading a bit. Life got a little bit busy, so I'm thinking that I'll upload in about like a few more weeks.
Weird. Oh. Hey, John.
Yo.
Artie?
Sup?
I got some words for you.
How'd you get my Discord?
I saw your tier list. It didn't have our shows on it.
Yeah, why do you leave us out of the party, man?
Oh, so like I only cut your guys' show out because I never really watched 3D shows on Nickelodeon as a kid. It just didn't really appeal to me. Like the designs and stuff just felt weird about it.
That sounds so incredibly stupid.
Yeah, that sounds pretty dumb.
Okay, no, look, I'll do a separate thing later on where I look at the shows. I'm doing my thing right now. Just let me cook.
Come on, Jimmy. We should show this guy what 3D really is.
We got ahead of you, Koral.
Huh?
Give our shows a good watch and then tell us what you think of them.
You did not need to come to my house to get me to do that. You could have just asked nicely. All you want me to do is watch the show?
Hey, don't be a fucking idiot. We obviously want you to make a video on them to remind people how good the shows are.
Look, I get it, okay? You guys are butthurt that you and other 3D shows didn't make it on the tier list. I'll do another one later on for you guys especially. Watching through your and these other shows would cost me another astronomical amount of time. Hey, speaking of astronomical, where's Sheen?
I will rip out your spine with my teeth, man.
Alright. Let's see, what time is it? 9 p.m? Perfect. I should be done watching all of these by the morning. And thus, I started my journey to watch through every single 3D Nickelodeon show that I haven't watched before, diving into why I like or why I don't like more than a dozen individual shows. But before I tell you how it went, I need you to do one thing for me. Because I take so much time into making these videos, it would mean so much to me if you enjoyed the video. I know I asked that a lot, but it is literally the main thing that I want you to do. Anyway, yeah, since watching through this stuff was probably gonna take me a while because I had to like note take while I was watching them, we should talk about other things like where I've been for the past few. I finished. Alright, I had a good time, but I feel like I just shoved my brain in an air fryer. There's one main thing that I learned from all this, it's that Nickelodeon was so goddamn weird. I don't know how else to put it. Nickelodeon was just a bizarre channel. It has its fair share of really good shows, but it also has a fair share of shows that I have no clue how they made it onto the network. I'm gonna go over all of them, but I gotta go over some of them really fast. Because a lot of the shows I actually watched were good. It's kind of hard to think of things to say for shows that are already highly rated and deserve that high rating. So I think we gotta hit the speed round to start off. Let's go! Also forgot to mention there are two more rules to this video. One, these shows have to have been made by Nickelodeon, and two, I'm only reviewing shows on Nickelodeon, not Nick Jr. And we gotta start with one of the oldest, Back at the Barnyard. The classic show based on the movie of the same name of a bunch of farm animals that can talk, but try to keep the secret of their talking away from humans while still consistently interacting with them and doing things in their world. There's always been something up about the characters' designs. I think it's the teeth. They're so weirdly realistic, so shiny, like an animatronic.
Was that the bite of 87?
But the show is mostly a goofy time, as the characters will go around the world messing around, doing really whatever they can get away with, and coming up with new schemes to hide their secrets. Also, the main group of animals are all horny as hell for each other. I don't know why.
Veronica! Veronica! Veronica?
They keep flirting with each other, and Ferret literally wants to eat chicken. Because the animals act like kids or preteens to relate with their target audience, sometimes the characters can be very nice, and sometimes they can even be real assholes to each other, which does kind of aggravate me as a viewer sometimes, but I do think that this was more of a problem in season 1. Season 2 had a lot of the same issue, but I think the writing did improve along with the jokes. To be honest, I like the show a lot more instead of the actual jokes that they were telling, but more for the unintentionally surreal moments and funny ass screenshots. But yeah, this one's kind of sitting in the middle for me. Penguins of Madagascar. Kowalski, Private, Rico, and Skipper are 4 penguins in a squadron that go around and solve issues and mysteries around the zoo and their city, with each adventure being different from the last. And it's so fun to watch this show after rewatching the movie it came from originally, because not a bit of charm is lost. The show's never really that serious, but it can still get you invested in the plots because I think the writing is really fun and engaging. The main squad's personalities really mesh well together as they just make this perfect squad. Skipper the leader, Kowalski the brains, Rico the crazy weapon specialist, and Private's just a little guy.
Hello, are you my family?
You don't have a family, and we're all going to die. Sorry.
What? And the penguins aren't the only good characters. There are a bunch of talking animals that I love in this show. There's also King Julian, who rules over his kingdom of 2 people, which consists of his right-hand man Maurice, who is really funny, and Mort, who I'm pretty sure is the first animated character to openly have a foot fetish.
Feet. Feet.
Fucking slay that shit, King. More power to you. We'll get those piggies someday, bro. But yeah, as I said, I really like this one. It's creative. The writing is good enough to make you laugh from how silly it is, but also somehow feel relatable when you're watching literal talking animals. All in all, a great one. One of the best, for sure. Kung Fu Panda Legends of Awesomeness.
Hear the legends of the Kung Fu Panda!
I love Jack Black way too much, man. And we get more of him and the rest of the cast of Kung Fu Panda in the spin-off, where we see a lot more casual adventures as they defeat various villains and go on little adventures. Think of it like this: if the Kung Fu Panda movies were the main mission, the main storyline, then this show is like them doing the side quests, like Po getting married or stopping a fight in the Furious 5. But just because it's not based around these big, huge, world-ending battles does not mean that it's a boring show. They have a lot of action. We're not on the same level as a movie, but it's still fun to watch. Writing didn't take a hit because I love all of the Furious 5 characters. They're all so likable and they mesh really well together. All of their motives make sense and I'm never really confused about why something happens. And of course, since this show is made for kids, some of the lessons that they try to teach or some of the morals are kind of childish, but I think it's a really turn your brain off fun type of show. Overall, just stellar. Oh, TMNT. Now this is how you do a CG show. The animation, the music, the storylines, the action, all of these are great ingredients that mix together to make this wonderful cake that I wish I got a slice of when I was younger. I hope you know who the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are. It's Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, and Michelangelo as they all go around the city in the shadows trying to defeat Shredder and other villains. And when I watched this one, I deadass watched like 10 episodes in one day. I was so happy to see this. It genuinely feels like everything was done right, which unfortunately wasn't the same with other iterations of the turtles. But now in this show, the personalities of each turtle was shown off very well, and each of them were all given traits and new looks to differentiate themselves besides just multicolored headbands. The animation, I describe it like earlier versions of like Spider-Verse and Puss in Boots type of animation where it's kind of a mix of 2D and 3D, very cartoonish and comic book-like. And this always makes the interactions between the characters or the action so fun to watch. And the voice acting never lacks, you know? I'm like 90% sure that Greg Sipes' voice can cure any disease.
Just so we're clear, Sensei, you are planning on swinging right now.
And it's a great balance of comedy and storytelling, and I recommend it to everyone who likes action, comedy, or drama, or even just funny turtles. Robot and Monster. Robot and Monster. This is the only show on this list that I've actually watched before, and it's trash. Wait, I'm kidding. Slow down. The show doesn't suck, but it's not that entertaining to me personally. It's a show about 2 friends named Robot and Monster, who would have guessed, as we get a slice of life look into their world full of other monsters and robots. There's nothing here at all that's really memorable. The main characters' names and the name of the show are very self-explanatory. The robot's design is pretty simple, and I kind of like it actually. Monster's design, bro looks like a villain ripped straight out of Garden of Bonbon. Just a weird guy. It looks like he's made out of Play-Doh. And all the episodes and plots are made for younger kids to learn lessons about like friendship. Not a terrible show, just one that didn't have much longevity in my memory. Except the show has a silver lining. One feature. I'm talking, of course, about Marf.
Marf.
I believe in Marf's supremacy. Monsters vs. Aliens, the show based off the movie where a gang of monsters teams up with the government and the president to take down alien threats on planet Earth. Look at the cast, bro. We got Bob, Dr. Cockroach, Missing Link, Insectosaurus, and Susan. Adorbica, oh my god. Because this show is set in the universe of Monsters vs. Aliens, there's a whole lot of cool and sci-fi and fictional situations that they can put the characters into. And I think it's obvious that they focused on this more because while this show is technically a comedy, I think the actual jokes and funny parts of the show are what drags it down. I find myself enjoying the plots and the stories that they try to tell and the characters that they introduce more than the actual predictable humor. But Yeah, that's it. Rugrats, a reboot of the famous 90s show that seemingly struck the wrong chord with people that were fans of the original Rugrats, because the reviews don't seem to take this show too kindly, as it is another case of the modern reboot, where when corporations run out of ideas, they'll take an old show, rub a new coat of polish on it, and then put it up like it's something new. I never watched the Rugrats, but I think I can tell the issues that people have with this one just by watching it.
You dumb baby!
Some of the voice acting kind of feels just in general jarring to hear these fully grown voices come out of these literal babies, and some of the older characters not sounding old.
Breathe deeply, let it out slowly. Just follow along with Grandpa. Pretend you're coloring the sky with your favorite crayon.
And I'm usually kind of a sucker for colorful, bouncy, round animation. There's just something about how the show looks to where I don't really like it that much. Sometimes higher quality doesn't always equal better, and I feel like this show is a great example of that, as the last show had a way more charming feel and look than this sort of corporate, poofy, oversaturated style, you know? Plus, overall, a lot of the show's plots aren't very interesting or really engaging to me, and there's no real messages behind any of them. I all in all didn't enjoy this one. Star Trek Prodigy, the third animated series of the Star Trek franchise that dropped in 2021. I've never watched anything Star Trek before, even though I've heard of it. The series wasn't like any of the others we've just talked about because it's not episodic, and overall I just didn't feel interested. As until I actually sat down and watched 3 episodes. And it was when I got to episode 3 is when I realized that I was obsessed since episode 1. I've never taken the time to watch anything Star Trek, and seeing one episode of this one made me feel this incredibly strong feeling that I was missing out on something beautiful. Even though I have read that this show is pretty much an entire different tone compared to all the other Star Trek stuff, the world building of this universe alone made me want to learn more about the different species and aliens and reasons why certain characters are where they are. All I'm gonna say is that this is not a normal Nickelodeon show that we're used to seeing. It's beautiful and dramatic. Even when the dialogue makes you notice that this show is made for kids, you don't care because everything else about it draws you in and compels you. Aw, nigga. Bro, if you're gonna listen to any of my recommendations this video, it better be this one. And for the most recent, we got Big Nate.
Don't wanna go to school today. The sun is red hot and I wanna play.
It's also one of the best adaptations I've seen in a while. If you don't know Big Nate, it was this fun book series about this kid named Nate, his friends, as they get into trouble at their public school. And you may already know this from the book series it came from, because these books were some of the only books that kids I know would read. When you left the book fair, you'd be carrying 3 books. It would be this, Diary of the Wimpy Kid, and Captain Underpants. But no, the animation is really stylized and nice looking, and the comedy is on point. The comedic timing is great, and the absurdity is just right, along with the cool animated sections where it looks like it's animated on line paper, just flipping from style to style, and I think that's a really cool aspect of it. And Nate himself is just overall a good protagonist. I've loved watching him go through these episodes, and I highly recommend this one to everyone. And that'll be it for the shows that I don't have actually much to say about, but there's also a reason why I'm separating these from the others. Every show I just told you about on review websites, they sit in about the 5 to 7 out of 10 range. Basically, critics and people who watch the show overall think it's average to above average. However, these next shows sit in the 3 out of 10 star range. Stuff that was so bad that you could not pay people to watch them. But I think it's time to address the elephant in the room, and like the main reason I wanted to make this video, a spin-off show that destroyed a character's legacy completely.
Look at that sky flyer! I've never seen anything like it! What kind of wondrous creature could create such a fantastic contraption?
Hey! Where's the bathroom in this place? I gotta go serious bad. I'm talking end of the movie, just finished a mega size soda, but don't want to miss the bad guy get caught and the whole crowd go, ah!
Planet Sheen was a Jimmy Neutron spin-off that came out in 2010, focusing around the side character Sheen. As he blasts off to another planet, it basically becomes their king or whatever. To explain why I think the entire concept of the show is flawed, I gotta explain Jimmy Neutron first, because before this little binge, I'd actually never sat down and watched real episodes of Jimmy Neutron. I just knew about the character because the show came out in 2002 and I was not born yet. And I don't think my dad's balls had cable, so it'd be pretty hard to watch. But anyway, The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron is a show that came out in 2002 that many many people that were around to watch it love. The show does not miss when it comes to its animation. For like 2002 to 2005, this animation looks so smooth. I'm not even gonna lie, it kind of weirded me out when I first watched it because I was expecting to be a lot less quality than this, but it still holds up to some extent. In any episode, with the amount of models and effects, you can tell that there's a lot of love and care that went into animating the show. And I also expected it to be a lot more goofy. It's not really. This show was a really cute balance of serious and silly, with a lot of the models and jokes being squeezed into the overall plot line as they progress, whether that be through the characters or the silly situations they cook up. And I think the show really shines at the memorable characters. Jimmy is this genius boy with friends that are way dumber than him, but he's never ever really condescending. He's just a kid with a big brain doing big brain things. Then you got Koral, who's, well, he's Koral.
Hey, Jimmy, somebody wrote on the walls. They're gonna get in trouble.
I don't think I could trust someone who doesn't like Koral. Then you got Sheen, who's also comic relief, but he's way more off the wall and energetic than Koral is.
Sometimes it's a heavy burden being a man of science.
I know what you mean, Jimmy. That's why I decided early on to sabotage my highly scientific mind with cartoons and sugar.
Just constantly goofy, silly, and wacky. There was also Cindy and Libby Fulfax, who I do not look like, and there'd be a ton of other side characters that you can get invested in, like the teacher, Jimmy's dad, Jimmy's mom. Jimmy's mom. Why is she so fine? Why? There's no human being on Earth that could make someone this hot. This gotta be God's doing. It was a really fun watch because I didn't even realize I burned through like 5 episodes sitting in this chair. I was just kind of enjoying the ride. It feels like a show that everyone could kind of enjoy. Like I know some people kind of have an issue getting past the character designs because some of them are kind of goofy. They do make me laugh a lot, but I like that. That's a good aspect. So the show ended in 2006, and 4 years later, Planet Sheen premiered on Nickelodeon. And making a spin-off, especially of a show that's so beloved, is bold as fuck. Because you want to give people more of what they want, but also make it a little like different enough to where people can enjoy it as its own separate show. And that is really fucking hard to do for reasons I'll explain later. But did Planet Sheen live up to the task overall?
That makes absolutely no sense.
Or does it?
No.
Or does it?
No.
Or does it?
What do you think, bro? Planet Sheen is one of the most hated cartoons to ever grace Nickelodeon. Now, there's a few reasons why, you know? Like, first of all, if you're gonna try and top Jimmy Neutron or be on the same level of it, the first challenge you got is trying to come up with a good enough theme song, which is fine, but you're trying to live up to Jimmy Neutron's.
Got a blast!
To the stars, you'll buy candy bars, rides a kid with a knack for invention.
Like, that's one of the most iconic themes I've ever heard. All right, let's hear Planet Sheen's.
Sheen, do not push this button.
Dog like cheese, cows like monkeys. Planet Sheen is oh so funky.
Okay, I get the last part, but the first 2 lines, you're just off, bro.
I mean, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. The background singers are kind of going crazy. And if we actually watch the pilot episode, we can tell from the first few seconds how this show is way different from its predecessor, with Sheen being forcefully stupid to progress the plot and having goofy jokes as he flies through space and lands on this random planet. Once he lands, he comes out and he's treated to a whole new world by the alien people. Yeah, so right off the bat, you can tell this show's a lot sillier than Jimmy was, which is fine. I mean, like, it makes sense. Jimmy is an intelligent character, and a show surrounding him you'd think would be pretty intelligent. And Sheen is goofy, so a show surrounding him is goofy. And after watching a bit of the show, I think that's where the main problem comes in. The show was doomed from the start because I feel like it tried to give us too much of a good thing. I think the best way someone has ever explained this phenomenon with media has got to be CJ the X in his video talking about what he called the Kronk effect. If you want to get your mind blown by a fast-talking, attractive video essayist, go to them. I'm not asking, this is a demand. But in the video, they talk about the movie Emperor's New Groove and the lovable goofball side character Kronk. When Emperor's New Groove first dropped, people loved Kronk so much that creators of Emperor's New Groove decided, oh shit, people love this guy. Let's give him his own whole new movie called Kronk's New Groove. And once people watched it, they hated that shit. It was not good. I think I found a way to simplify it enough to make it easy to understand. Let's say you're like me and you like drinking tea, right? And I like to put sugar in my tea. Okay, you can fight me. Tea without sugar is just bland leaf water. I add a little bit of sugar to my tea because I like how the sweetness mixes with the other flavors of whatever tea I put in. All the sensations of the flavor blend really well to make this great, pleasant experience. I'm gonna put this down now. I don't need it anymore. It wasn't worth the bit. But let's say I add a little bit too much sugar to my tea, which I have done. All of a sudden, it's too sweet, and I don't want to drink the tea anymore. Or let's say my tea was entirely replaced with just sugar. I wouldn't like this either. It's not that bad, but I would rather just have my normal tea. Now imagine the tea is a show, a video game, a movie, some piece of media, and the sugar is only one aspect of the show's flavor. You add just enough of a good amount of it and it becomes this great sweet experience. So let's say you tried to replace the other flavors of the tea with more sweetness, or took the rest of the tea away and we're just left with the sweetness. It's suddenly not as pleasant anymore. And this is exactly what happened with Planet Sheen. The show still has a lot of sci-fi elements and a lot of similar aspects to the show that came before it, so it kind of feels like the creators just wanted to remake Jimmy Neutron before a newer, more modern audience that's a lot sillier and goofier. And I feel like people would be more fine with it if the writing was a little bit better. And I don't want to sound like a douchebag, or I know writing is hard, but it just feels like every single moment that happens in the show is just an avenue for Sheen to get off a quick one-liner. Pro I will give the show is that since it's set on an alien planet, they have the opportunity to make things way weirder looking. Design these wacky environments and all these buildings. However, though, I do have a nitpick. I don't really like the alien design. A lot of them are repeated anyway, and some of them just look creepy as hell.
That didn't work. What have you done, Peter?
Nothing.
Am I leaning for no good reason?
No, it's actually a very good reason.
It was 100% goofy and silly and just not really executed that well. And that's why it's hard as fuck for some shows to make spin-offs of secondary characters. If you're gonna shift the focus entirely to a new personality, you need to make sure the show balances out and fits around that personality. It just had a little too much silliness, that's all. Don't get it twisted, I love silly and goofy. And there are shows that are pretty much 100% silly, goofy action. Like the next show I want to talk about here that I watched. Okay, yeah, I know that intro is a little bit obnoxious, but looks can be deceiving, okay? Also, I've changed shirts and I've turned off these lights, okay? Continuity be damned, it's fucking hot in here. Fanboy and ChumChum was a show made by Eric Robles in 2009, which was about these two really nerdy kids that just lived their life, went to school, and got into these wacky reality bending scenarios. I think I understand why my friend was more critical of this one than others, because we have sort of the same taste, but I saw a lot of pros with Fanboy and ChumChum that I didn't see before. Fanboy and ChumChum? That'd be a good ass show. But the characters in Fanboy and ChumChum are really what carries the show to a higher level for me. First of all, you got the main two. We got the fanboy, who is this lanky, high energy nerd that usually takes the reign and leadership in the duo. Then you got his best friend, his chum, ChumChum, who is this little bundle of joy, this little goofball.
Well, I'm required to test your extreme necessity.
And they got like a sort of Sonic and Tails relationship, except ChumChum is not smart like Tails is. They're really goofy characters, they're always in costume, and they really just do whatever the hell they want. I also think I would have enjoyed the show a lot more if I watched it more when I was younger, because ever since I was a wee young lad, I've been dealing with the darn scallywag known as ADHD, and I feel like this show would have been perfect for me now, because there's never ever a dull moment. Every single character is bright, colorful, expressive. The designs are always varying from character to character. Some can have huge heads and tiny ass limbs, while some are just obese. The only connecting factor through a lot of their designs are their pig noses and their goddamn shiny eyeball. Bro, what the hell? And all the voice acting too. I think the voice actors did a really great job of keeping entertaining voices for every single character. To name some of my favorites, you know, we got Chris Chuggy, who just goes wah, wah, wah.
Oh dear, you've lost your writing implement. Off you go.
We got Yo, who is kind of insane. She has this crush on ChumChum.
Play with him a little bit.
ChumChum is not a toy.
Yeah, hands off the merchandise. Ooh, I know, but he's just so cute. And chummy.
But with this variety in the world and the lack of like common laws of physics or nature, and having these extremely goofy, creative kid characters at the forefront just to have fun, it really gives the writers and storyboarders freedom to go with whatever the hell they want, and it makes some of these plots feel like goddamn acid trips. In Trading Day, a new toy comes out that gets the kids in town excited called Mechatech. They're these little robots that can do pretty much anything you want and will barely cost any money, but Fanboy and ChumChum are broke, so they they can't afford it. And when they pull up to the school, everyone else has the mech tech, and Fanboy gets violently jealous, but Yo has a proposition for him. Yo is willing to give away her mech tech robot in trade of ChumChum for a day, because Yo is obsessed with ChumChum. And Fanboy goes through with it, blinded by his love and lust for the beautiful robotics. However, when he gets the fun toy, he has no one to really share it with, and the novelty wears off pretty quick. And he wants his ChumChum back, but Yo has trapped ChumChum in a giant Tamagotchi machine and has started treating him like a virtual pet under her control. And out of rage, Fanboy breaks his Mechatech robot on accident, activating the rest of the Mechatech robots in the school into kill mode, so they all team up and try to take down Fanboy in this sort of robotic invasion. The storyboard artist and writers were either using a random like plot generator or LSD, because I don't know how you come up with that. Sadly though, it does seem that all of the creativity was used on the outside and the visuals, and none of the actual characterization or writing. It's easy to understand, right? The writing is very simple. The jokes are very simple. They're just funny enough to maybe get a laugh or chuckle out of a kid, and then the show's visuals and sound effects draw the kid even more in, so they really don't have to come up with a plot or any episode that really makes any sense or has any value or is funny. Especially with like the humor and writing, they tend to reuse the same joke once they find a joke that they can fit into an episode, and that implied heavy use on gross out jokes and fart jokes and poopy duty jokes. And if you find that actually funny, cool for you, man, but I could never really get into gross out that much. Just kind of felt lazy and gross. It can be done right, but when it's done too much, that's where I start to draw the line. You're only allowed to fart a limited amount of times, not too many. Who did that? I did not do that. Who did that? Did you do that? Yeah, it was me. You fucking animal. And you also notice another way that the show tries to cheaply grab your attention by just listening to the sound effects. There is not one scene in this whole thing that does not have the full audio bar filled with sound effects. I mean, I know I'm someone that can't really talk, but still, why does every action need a cliche cartoon sound effect? And despite all of these flaws, I can still find myself enjoying the goddamn show. This long-winded talk was just to basically express my feeling that this show is bad, and everyone can tell that's really not that special, it's not that valuable, and kids and adults probably shouldn't be watching it. However, it is specifically designed to make you enjoy it regardless. Fanboy and ChumChum is the greasy old fast food place of Nickelodeon. It's bad for you and it's not good, and I think everyone who knows what it is can agree on that, but it'll just keep on drawing you back in. But nah, I get what all the bad reviews are saying. I understand that the show is not good in comparison to a lot of the other stuff that was on at the time. However, there's still a lot of enjoyment to be found in it. Sadly though, I can't defend everything. The next show that has such a low rating actually deserves it in my opinion, and it all started with a quote. The show is about Spongebob. He's the core element, and it's about how he relates to the other characters. Patrick by himself might be a bit too much, so I don't see any spin-offs. You know, one of these days, we're gonna want to make Spongebob babies. That's when I'm out of here. These are both quotes from the creator of Spongebob, Steven Hillenburg. And 3 years after his death in 2018, you'll never guess what show dropped.
I'm off to summer camp. Through nature I will tramp.
Kamp, Koral, or SpongeBob's Underyears is a prequel to SpongeBob, or it's like Total Dramarama, Muppet Babies, Smosh Babies. It's SpongeBob Babies, basically. I can't believe they actually went through making the show thinking anyone would react positively, because all signs led to don't make this. But context of how it released aside, they still made it, and I still wanted to watch it with an unbiased eye. And if you've watched the show before, we can easily identify two things. One, the art style and animation is so bright and bubbly and so goddamn high quality for this little short series. And two, the voice acting is as good as it can be. I mean, they got this famous SpongeBob voice actors. Some of them feel like they're phoning it in a little bit.
Mr. Larry, did you know the jellyfish are the most energy efficient swimmers in the entire ocean?
No.
And did you know that they eat and poop out of their mouths?
Yeah. Nature is disgusting.
Besides all the aesthetics, all the visuals, and the sound, is the show any good?
This dandy.
Wait, huh? I don't want to watch this anymore. I take it back. No! No, what are they doing to the kids, man? No, stop! Stop! That scene out of context is genuinely insane. Best way I can describe watching the show, right? Imagine you're watching a modern day SpongeBob episode that's not good, but also not bad enough to be memorable like Squid Baby. In my honest opinion, all of the good parts of the show come from the visual aspect. The visual and slapstick comedy translated actually pretty well to 3D, and the characters squash and stretch with almost the same amount of expression as the actual show. But everything else is just so so forgettable. Like, the first episode is all about SpongeBob trying to catch a jellyfish, but he keeps on getting interrupted when he's about to. SpongeBob is here as a kid with his friends Sandy and Patrick and everyone else in a much younger state, and we got Mr. Krabs and Plankton and Squidward that are counselors of this summer camp called Camp Koral. The only bit I was able to remember a while after watching it was SpongeBob flipping around in Mr. Krabs' office. It's really hard to try and enjoy a show like this without encountering that feeling of uselessness throughout the whole thing and trying to get around it. All of this effort that went into the animation and colorful backgrounds and voice acting, and all of this for the show to just be very surface level, from my point of view as a viewer, it just feels like a waste of time on everyone's end. Whatever they say, man, it's not my show. It only lasted one season because everyone fucking hated it, and it's over now, I think. Is it? Wait. There will be new episodes of Camp Koral set to release in 2023. Whatever, bro. The last Nickelodeon show that sits in the 3-star range is one that I assure a lot of you do not remember. Now tell me, how does this sound? A Nickelodeon spin-off TV show of a game. Huh? The idea intrigued me for a bit. I introduce you to Talkin' the Power of JuJu. The TV series started airing that was based on the video game that came out 4 years later for the GameCube and the PS2. And the show seemed destined for success. A TV show based off a video game was unique. They had talent on the roster making the show. For voice actors, Kerry Walgren, John DiMaggio, Megan Cavanaugh, Jeff Bennett, and on the music, they had goddamn Guy Moon. This guy composed for all of these shows at the top. So, I mean, that pretty much explains why the music in this show was pretty mid. It's not that good. That shit's got me doing a King Batch backflip off the walls. They even got Joe, man.
Fear not, poo-poo people. The Lock has everything under control. I'm gonna hunt down these woodies and put a stop to their stomping right now.
Dude, I'm telling you, watching the first episode of this show, completely blind, knowing nothing about it, and then randomly just hearing Patrick Warburton's voice come out of this character, there was nothing funnier. But to explain the story and why the show is so badly reviewed at all, we should go back to the game originally that's based off of. Warning, real quick, I'm about to say a lot of really goofy words at you, but I need you to stay with me here, okay? So Talkin' the Power of JuJu was a game made by Avalanche for the GameCube in 2003. We start off the game meeting this man named Jabulba. Jabulba is part of the Pupu Nunu tribe of people that live out in this mystical jungle surrounded by monsters, magic, and these beings called JuJus. JuJus are these magical creatures that could be good or bad and usually symbolize one aspect of life. There's like a karma JuJu and a darkness JuJu and a moon JuJu. And the nicest JuJu out of all of them is the moon JuJu that keeps the Pupu Nunu people alive. I can't say these words without smiling. But there's an issue in the world. An evil JuJu named Treylock stole the moonstones from the moon JuJu to destroy the Pupu Nunu tribe and turn them all into mindless sheep. Thankfully though, the Pupu Nunu tribe have a hero named Locke who is going to save them all. He's seen in the village as this hero that will destroy the evil JuJu and set the entire village free. However, that is false as hell. He's not.
Tech! What are you doing?
You told me to go get Locke.
Yes, that's right. Go fetch Locke. Stop playing with the sheep.
I did get Locke.
No, you fetched a dirty, stinky animal.
That's Locke. See, he's wearing Locke's amulet. Laylock must have changed him into a sheep.
No.
This man is a fraud! But thankfully, there's a lazy teen in the village named Tak. He rises to the task of helping his village and Jabulba get useful materials, and then he's blessed with this staff that he can use to summon JuJu spirits and use JuJu magic abilities to defeat enemies and solve issues. And as he goes through his adventure, he makes many new friends, many new JuJus, and the sheep that he found earlier that he said was Locke actually wasn't Locke.
But this is not Locke. It's Tobar, Locke's squire.
At least your transformation spell worked. Tobar, can you tell us what happened to Locke?
And once Tak does end up finding Locke, this scene plays out where we get to listen to Joe Swanson moaning.
Jabulba, where's the...
Out the door, round the back.
What's wrong with him?
This always happens when people get resurrected. They call it Resurrection's Revenge.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Oh, my. Oh, goodness. Oh, my.
There are more games after this one where we get to see Tak develop as a character. We start to see Nunu Poopa Nunus introduced into the world to fight alongside him, and a lot of people love the game actually. Apparently it was really fun. I wish I got to play it. It looks fun from the gameplay I'm watching. However, once this show came out, a lot of the viewing demographic probably already played the game. So imagine their surprise when they clicked to watch the TV series that's supposed to be about the game, and they just did whatever the hell they wanted.
Bait? The lock can't be bait. I'm the mighty warrior. And what's with the chicken soup?
The show is all about Tak learning how to actually master and use JuJu properly as he defeats new enemies, alongside his two best friends, Jira and Kiko. In the first episode, there are these big old tree monsters that come to destroy and wreak havoc on the village, and our three main kids have to brainstorm a way to get them away from the village before they destroy it, so they get Locke to dress up in a chicken costume and lure him out to a gorge to like bait out the monster. It's after this stunt that Locke gets pulled up again, dragged back to the village, and once all of this doesn't work, Tak is finally able to use his JuJu properly and shrink down the monsters to where they're not an issue anymore. This episode's really weird because when I watched it, I got a hit of deja vu. Like for some reason, at one point in my life, I watched this episode, but the only thing that came back in my memory was me watching the chicken scene. And that's so unfortunate because this show, I feel like, has so many opportunities to be creative and memorable. I think this is just another case of a show focusing more on comedy than like world building or telling an actual story. A lot of the plots were based around a jokey aspect or Tak being the funny, charismatic main character. Other than that, the characters look goofy as hell. I like it. The animation could use some work, but I doubt they had a big budget, and this is very old, so. The character writing, I don't really like how in the games, Tak was an evolving character. He was growing up. He started off immature, but then he was getting more mature. And in the show, he kind of only stayed like that. He stayed this lazy teenager who used his JuJu magic improperly. But they do also have the benefit of being set in the world of a really creative game, so they're like all these different types of monsters and beasts and magics and jujus that they can play around with in every episode, but you know, it just doesn't end up being memorable for me. And boys, that's gonna be it for the Nickelodeon 3D shows that I never watched as a kid, and now I have. Best ones, these two. Worst ones, these two. If you don't agree with anything that I said, I hope at least the video was good, bro. If you're new here, I'm RT, what's up? I have a Discord, Twitter, and Twitch that I'm all active on. Check the Linktree link in the description below for those. My DMs are open everywhere, but that does not mean you need to get parasocial with me. I'll see y'all wherever you catch me next. Peace, peace.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. If you like RT60, you should like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.